Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts, your friend and your host of the Whole Athlete Podcast, where today it's just me talking to you about things I have observed and learned and experienced. And I'm recording this on a Sunday after I did an evening 5K sunset run in Elk Beach, Seattle. Friday night, 6:20 p.m. That was an experience, racing at night instead of morning. And then I just did a half marathon this morning, more of a training race. But I wanted to talk to you today about my observations, what I did for pre-race fueling and pacing and recovery. So kind of what I talk about, my fitness studio that I'm just closing up, but I've always had the tagline of fuel, train, and perform. And that's kind of what I find myself talking a lot about on this podcast, as well as longevity and avoiding burnout and breakdown. So putting that all together, that is how I am building my health coaching practice, how to train the whole athlete from the inside out with the holistic method, where I coach people on nutrition, their exercise, their sleep, and their stress, the mobility, movement throughout the day, gut health and digestion, which is so important, and hydration, and my favorite, happiness and play. That is what the holistic method is about, and I am focusing on helping other endurance athletes avoid being burned out and broken and gaining weight. There's a lot of fit people out there, but there's also a lot of fit and unhealthy and over-fat people, and you really see that on a race course. No offense to those people that aren't at their goal weight, but there's a reason for it. Their body is probably under metabolic chaos, as we say, as FDN practitioners, as health detective. A lot of chronic stress, and exercise is part of that chronic stress, builds up and accumulates into our beaker of stress and causes imbalances inside and out. And I think a lot of athletes out there, endurance athletes, train incorrectly, overtrain, under-recover, eat way too many carbohydrates. They're training for endurance events that should be fat burning, but they've trained and eaten their way into a carb burning metabolism. And we've talked about this in my podcast since 2011. And I've been doing this myself since I started racing back in 2001. And doing endurance events, I figured this out myself. If you're doing endurance training, you want to be burning fat, as I keep talking about on this show, that we should be fat adapted. And we want to be metabolically flexible. So we are depending on our gas tank coming from fat. But when we switch into overdrive, we can burn those carbohydrate, that fast, quick energy fuel, and then downshift back into our nice, steady energy cruise control fat burning. Well, that is kind of what I tested today doing a half marathon. If you followed me over the years, I have written my whole personal story in my book on Amazon, The Holistic Method Manual and Life is Not a Race book is my personal story. Said that backwards. But I have not been racing. I've been healing and rebuilding the whole athlete myself over the years and trying to test the waters, so to speak, and seeing how I can do and race myself back into shape and use my functional lab results and use my own FDN and nutritional therapy experience and my DNAFit genetic reports and help train the whole athlete myself and be my own coach. It's so important to look at the whole athlete. As I talk about with the holistic method, we mentioned the beginning of the show, I talked about these 8 elements. And I think so much of the way people train for a half marathon, a full marathon, a triathlon, trail running, cycling, they're endurance events. But these shorter distance of half Ironman, it's a little bit different. If you're racing it, as I like to, heart rate's going to be higher and we will be burning more carbohydrates. So there's all sorts of different things that we need to do based on the distance we're racing. And let's just kind of do a recap on my strategies this weekend and how I've been training and what I'm going to be doing in the next off season coming up here and next year, 2020, as I will be racing, hopefully with you, at Lava Man Triathlon, April 5th, and then Hanu Half Ironman. I am going to Mallorca for a cycling week in June for a great cycling camp that I'm doing with my husband. And then a big race end of August in Penticton, Canada. So I am going to practice what I preach, help you as well as myself put the oxygen mask on first. Train smartly. Under recovery is a big issue for people, and too much external stress and internal stressors, which I've talked about recently on other podcast episodes that we find in functional diagnostic nutrition practitioners, FDN. As an FDN practitioner, I will be doing 5 basic functional labs on clients and helping resolve their metabolic chaos, their chronic stress disease, I call it myself, and find out those hidden stressors. As I am working on getting my 5 labs done right now, I only did 2 of the 5, and it doesn't really make sense. I can't clinically correlate all of my symptoms, my history, my lifestyle with these 2 labs alone. I really need to get the other 3 done. I'm just busy with my studio closing up and going to Spain as I speak. Well, as I release this show, I will be in Spain on a previously planned vacation with my husband before I knew my studio had to close because our building's being torn down. October 1st, we are out of my studio. So anyways, I have these 3 labs left to do. One's MRT, the food sensitivity lab. The second one's a GI pathogen lab to find out parasites, bacteria, infections, which I really, really, really wish everyone would do, as well as a leaky gut test. And then the third test I need to do is MRT, food sensitivity lab test. The other 2 that I've already done or the saliva hormone panel that you do a saliva test 4 times during the day. So you get the full 24-hour circadian rhythm of your hormones as cortisol and DHEA and melatonin and progesterone, testosterone, and the estrogens. And you guys, it's amazing information to put this together. It's a puzzle. We are investigating and helping getting clues from all these different labs and listening to my health complaints myself, why I don't recover well, why is running so hard for me, and why does my heart rate go up? And I take into account my genetics, which I'll touch on today, and also looking at these food sensitivities. Am I eating foods that I have a struggle with? The other lab test I did do measures it's a urine test, but 3 things we get from this test are oxidative stress of my cells, which is huge for athletes. We put a lot of stress on our body with this exercise load we do, on top of a busy lifestyle and environmental toxins. We also find out our liver congestion. Is your liver functioning at optimal level? And then a big one that I'm finding really interesting because I'm starting to add more meat in my diet, eating steak and grass-fed beef for my first time in 35 years. It's been since I was 13 years old when I stopped eating most meat because I grossed out eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was disgusting to me, so I just stopped eating most all meat. And I find this test that we do identifies if you have trouble breaking down protein. So all this information is really important, but I need to have these other 3 labs to really correlate all this information together. Because if I have foods that I'm eating that are sensitive to, that's going to cause more stress in my body. That's going to contribute to an inflamed gut, which inflames the body, and then add more stress to my liver, which will show congested liver, and then my ability to digest proteins will be impacted, as well as impact my gut health. GI pathogens impacts everything. So we call it the hidden stressors. Your hormones are impacted, your immune system, detoxification, and digestive system. We don't know what's really going on under the hood. Just like you take your car in, you don't know what's going on unless you do these tests. You have to do diagnostic tests on everything, but we don't diagnose or teach or I can't think end of the day. We can't treat one thing, we treat everything. So we're not diagnosing anything but metabolic chaos. So let's go back to my weekend as I just gave a little recap on that. Okay, so on Friday, I did the 6:20 p.m. 5K race. We thought it'd be good to just trying to start to race more and do speed work. So racing is great to do. I haven't done as many as training races because they're so expensive nowadays. And this race Friday night was ridiculous. It was cost a lot. I got a metal cup, pint glass, and they had 2 drink tickets for this vodka, Tito's vodka, and lemonade drink. And I didn't have it. Of course, I would have had a diabetic coma if I had that lemonade. But I enjoy racing. It's kind of fun to get back into it. So knowing what I do best at doing is fasted workouts in the morning. So I think it was in Sim Land's Metabolic Autophagy book I'm working on, halfway through it, almost. It's a huge book. But fasted workouts, if you're used to doing that and you're metabolically flexible at using fat for your main storage tank and backup tank is filled up there for those emergencies and sprint races as a 5K, I'll be shifting into burning some carbohydrates along with my fat. So with that, I knew I was going to eat lunch at 12 o'clock or before 2 o'clock and fast somewhat the rest of the day. So what I think is Sim's book, somewhere I read that if you worked out in the afternoon to get somewhat similar fasted workout benefits you do in the morning is don't eat 4 hours before. So I thought I'd try it before a race. I don't normally work out late at night because it messes up my sleep. So I ate a grass-fed burger as it's my new favorite thing. As I said, I haven't eaten meat since I was 13. But I had grass-fed burgers with just that Primal Kitchen mayo and some pickles. So I thought by 6 o'clock, I'd be good. But sadly, I need to have more HCl and digestive enzymes because I have issues from my chronic stress I led for so many years. My life was a race, and I need to take a lot of supplements to break down food. And especially, I just started eating a lot more protein and experimenting with kind of keto carnivore. I'm not strict. I'm still eating other foods and some carbohydrates, but I thought I'd try this. And so the race, I felt I had dead legs to start with. We always warm up 1 to 2 miles in some intervals before a shorter race as a 5K, so doing some 30-second pickups. And that was better as I warmed up. My legs felt like stumps, partially because I was sitting most of the afternoon trying to get up and move, but I don't do well evening workouts. I'm just stiff. And I ended up warming up and feeling better. But as I said, I'm just getting back into speed work, and racing a 5K is hard and then harder. So it was a good race. Somehow I won my age group, even though I wasn't my fastest and it wasn't anything to write and cheer about. But as you get older, it's easier to place. And I think a lot of people are going to just drink the margarita cocktails afterwards and having a good time, as they should. So that was Friday night. And then Saturday, I usually go for a long bike ride, and it's end of summer, September now. And I really love doing, 4, 5, 6 hour bike rides and just keeping my max aerobic function heart rate. But since we're doing this half marathon today, I really knew I needed to do an easy workout. So we did a 2-hour easy ride on this loop that has just a couple hills, and it's pretty flat on this bike path. And we were just having fun, taking pictures, and saw some friends. And so my heart rate was super low, just kept the gear easy and high cadence and shake everything out. So that was good. My heart rate was really nothing. And then I worked. I'm studying for my finals for my practitioner program I'm in. And then Sunday we did the race. So because we were racing this morning, half marathon, I'd also thought I'm going to experiment, as I do during the week, not eating before bed. So we're lame. My husband and I were racing. So we were Saturday night, stayed home, and I wanted to eat dinner at 5 o'clock. So I have enough time to digest my food because we're eating the new food, new to my body, having steak, and it takes a long time to break down, digest. So I wanted to eat early. And even when I'm coaching clients, I have people eat 3 hours before bedtime or earlier. So I don't like having a big meal because it disrupts my sleep, and my body should be detoxifying, healing, repairing when I'm sleeping. When you eat close to bed, your body's busy digesting your food instead of doing what it's supposed to do at night. As I've said before, the housekeeping service should be coming to your body cells. And if you're eating before bed, you're going to miss your housekeeping service. Same as if you're eating or going to bed late at night, you're also missing that housekeeping service if you go to bed super late. Anyways, so back on my schedule, I had steak and some amazing onions on it and some olives, and added some grass-fed Kerrygold butter. And then I did have a few crackers, these Mary Gone crackers, gluten-free. A few of those, they're really good. They're rosemary or garlic. They're yummy. And it had some cheese with that. So that was what we ate. And then race morning, I did go to bed early Saturday night because I was actually super tired and wanted to feel good. Now, today wasn't a race, but it was more of a test. And so my strategy going into this half marathon, as I am getting back into race shape and seeing how my body responds and making sure I stay healthy. So I'll do lots of lab testing every 3 months to check that I'm not hurting myself. The half marathon, my approach to it was a 10K, go out to the turnarounds, out and back, totally flat race that took us an hour to get to. So we had to get up early. And the race strategy, I started to say, tangent, going out easy, MAF heart rate. So that's my 130 heart rate range. I tried to run at super easy. And then at the turnaround, come back and mile repeats on the return. So knowing that, I didn't feel that I needed to eat anything different than I normally do on a long run day. Sundays we run long, and all I have to eat before I go running is coffee and heavy cream, a splash of heavy cream, and sometimes cinnamon. Now today I tried this keto mix creamer that has MCT oil, Himalayan sea salt, and some collagen, I think. So I've tried it before, so never anything new race day, but this was all just kind of practice, testing out how my body responds to having steak and how it digests. And actually, I did not feel good last night. I had some digestion issues, felt nauseous. So I need my digestive enzymes and HCl when I eat for sure. That makes a difference. So this morning, we had to drive in an hour up to the Skagit Valley Flats half marathon. And we get to a race an hour before so we can relax and warm up and loosen up mobility drills and then run a mile or so to warm up. So all I had on the way there was some coffee. I brought macadamia nuts with salt on them just in case I felt like I needed some. So I had, I think, just 4 or 5 macadamia nuts just because I wanted the salt. And I had a bottle of water that I have some real salt in that. Supplement-wise, I've always, in the past when I was racing for 20 years, done Hammer Nutrition. And so I still tried my Race Cap Supremes, 3 of those, some antioxidants, and I take my liquid Quicksilver glutathione drops and my B complex. And I've been taking Capex, a supplement from Biooptimizers that I have a few blogs on, and we did a podcast with them that has some digestive enzymes and MCT, exogenous ketones in it that's supposed to help energy and inflammation and help you burn fat and give you lots of energy. So what else? That's what I did in the morning today. Oh, True Niagen is another supplement I take every day as well for my mitochondria, cell health. So the race, what I did, my strategy was to go out slowly. A side note, I did have to go potty, number 1, 3 times before the race started. Number 1, not number 2. But I think that I had coffee and water on the drive up. And so that was kind of an inconvenient because I never have to go run to the bathroom in a race. But mile 1, I had to go potty. So I had to stop in the porta potty. And then everybody passed me that I was with. So it's definitely a good training of your mindset, doing a race just to practice and getting your head back into the game. And what Brad Kern's, his new podcast is called Get Over Yourself. And I was thinking about that. It is about getting over yourself, and especially as I try to race again and not put the expectations on myself, as I haven't raced for so many years, partially because I have this high standard I set for myself. I did used to run Boston Marathon. I did a 3:12 and a 3:17. I did Ironman Canada and Ironman Hawaii was my best. Ironman Canada time was 10:25 or something. So I had good race times. I used to do a marathon split in Ironman at 3:45 or something like that. So not tooting my own horn, it's more my personal challenge of being able to race again when I'm not at that speed. So it's so hard mentally to get over yourself and just say, you know what? I can run. I'm okay. I don't have bone on bone knees like my friend Shanna does. She has to run, walk, and she's still racing and she's not placing in her age group, but doing still well, that she's doing what she loves to do. There's other people that can't even run. So I need to just be happy to be out there and experiencing running with people and racing. And it's just always so fun to cross that finish line. Just even doing that Sunset 5K race Sunday night or Friday night, it just is fun. And I like racing. It makes me smile. So what I found out today is that when I had to stop at mile 1 to go to the bathroom and get back in the race that everyone passed, so I had to tell myself, you know what? I'm just training out to the turnaround, halfway through the race, running a 10K race at my training run, just like I go out every Sunday. And I just try to keep my heart rate down low and feel comfortable being able to talk. So I'm staying aerobic. I'm in my fat burning ranges. I'm not huffing and puffing. I can stay here for a while. Plus, I never know how my body's going to be, if my calf's going to cramp up or what's going to happen. So I just had to get over it. I was thinking in my head what I'm going to write about on my blog and talk about to you today as I record this podcast. Because it's boring when you're running by yourself on these country roads, totally pancake flat, just out. So I had to get my head in the game and focus on what I'm feeling and thinking about and observing other people. How, as I said earlier, there's a lot of fit and over fat and unhealthy people out there. And I think a lot of it is, as I said, they're having sugary water drinks. They have all these gels stuck to their waist belt. It's a half marathon. Some people are doing the full marathon, but even those people should be training to be fat adapted and be a low carb athlete. And I wish I could help everybody out and hand out my card and say, listen to my podcast, listen to our show every week and read my blog and see how you can learn something. So I went out. I just had water at the aid stations, had a little swig because I was thirsty, and just had water. I didn't need to eat anything. I was totally doing what I normally do. Run without eating anything. I have energy. I'm metabolically efficient. I have lots of fat to use for energy in my body, and I have the metabolism, the enzymes able to oxidize fat for fuel because I've done that for a long time. So those people that always do the carbs, you can't just switch like that overnight. That's why I have my 30-day coaching program for groups on nutrition starting in October, because there is a 30-day or so, 4 to 6 week time that you want to give yourself to so-called flip that switch. So you are a fat burner and you are able to be metabolically flexible and burn those carbs when you need to, as I did the second half of the race I'll get to, and go back to burning fat when you're done the race. So I did what I planned to do. I kept my mindset, being confident and telling myself, you know what, it's okay. All these people are passing you. Everyone's in front of you. I did the turnaround and everyone's coming back. And it was so important to get the right viewpoint that I am doing what I need to do. All these people, different heights, ages, shapes, and sizes, like, wait a minute, why are they all in front of me? How come I'm so far back? Well, I have to just tell myself what I used to do is saying, you know what, look at those people, I'll get them later and catch them, because most people go out too fast. And if I'm in a race and I hear people huffing and puffing and their heart rate's super high and they still have a half marathon or marathon to go, I know I'll see them later. So I always just give myself that little edge of confidence that I'll catch up with them. So on the turnaround, I went around the cone and it was game time. And it was so much more fun than running along by myself, writing a blog in my head. So I turned around and then boom, the race started. And it was a great time. I did 1 mile and the aid stations were kind of every mile, but I saw the mile markers on the road and I did my HIIT training, mile hard as I could, walk 30 seconds to a minute until I caught my breath, and then I raced a mile. And then I walked, and then I raced a mile. And it was fun. I passed a lot of people, and I don't know, because I was wearing an Ironman Kona hat that I got a couple years ago that I liked, says Kona, that people were saying hello or hi or good job, or because I'm so far back, they felt sorry for me. I don't know, but everyone was really friendly and encouraging, and it was funny. I want to say I've been racing for 25 years, running races. I'm okay, but everyone's, again, get over yourself, take that compliment and cheer people on. And I always have the rule too, to cheer on people I see and get eye contact with, and there's no one else there. You always should say hi and good job and keep it up and encourage other runners, as well as volunteers. I have a rule that I always say thank you for helping, or thank you to the volunteers. And my third rule, you always pose for the photographers. I am really good at smiling no matter how crappy I feel. My goal is always to smile and pose for the photographers on the races. And I have some great ones from Friday night that we were laughing about because they're so cheesy pictures. But you know what? When you're feeling crappy and you see that cameraman and you follow your rule, you have to pose for it, it makes you laugh. So when you do that, it relaxes you a little bit too. So I raced to the finish line. I challenged myself. I think I placed my age group. They didn't have the results up, and so we left. But I was definitely under or over the time that I would like to do. But just because this is my comeback race, I was 1 minute and 30 seconds below my goal time of 2 hours. I did 1:58:30. Again, I used to do easily under 1:45 to 1:35 for a half marathon. So hopefully I'll get there next year. What I wanted to talk about is the importance of not running too fast out, not needing to take all the sugar drinks, which makes it much easier and fat adapted. You don't need all the gels in the drink. And when you're at the finish line, I took a picture and put it on my Low Carb Athlete Instagram. And then I think that also got forwarded to my Facebook page, Low Carb Athlete, where you should sign up on there to get free information, all the research I find on there. But you don't need to eat all that stuff afterwards. I didn't eat. I had some water, but I didn't need to eat. I don't believe in that 30-minute window that you have to eat right away. And even Sim Land in his research book I'm reading, he said the same thing. I was like, you know what? I always thought that was some marketing gimmick that you have to have chocolate milk within 30 minutes after you finished your workout. I'm not hungry. Why am I going to force food into my body when I really don't feel like it? And I just got done working out and I'm thirsty. And if I ate something, I'm going to throw it up anyway. So think about that. And I think it's a great way to get back into shape by training low heart rate. And when you're ready to add some intervals into your workout, if the race isn't overpriced, like this one was $75 for a cotton t-shirt and a bunch of junk of food that I did not eat at the finish line. We got something to eat when we had lunch. We came home and we ate in the afternoon, but I had some coffee afterwards. And it's okay. It's so funny. People eat had red licorice and chocolate muffins and all this stuff. So I think that's why I know people actually gain weight racing. One, it's chronic stress, so you're increasing your cortisol. Cortisol is going to increase your blood sugar. Blood sugar is going to cause you to be on the blood sugar roller coaster, and you're going to break down muscle potentially and be good at increasing your blood sugar levels and have insulin resistance and go down this whole carb burning sugar roller coaster, blood sugar roller coaster. So chronic cardio, working out more than 45 minutes isn't great. And I wanted to talk a little bit today, though I'm running out of my 30-minute window. What I want to do is talk to you about genetic testing. Now, I did DNAFit, and I've done their coaching program. And you can upload your genetic data that you can get from Ancestry, DNA, or 23andMe. Somewhere on those websites, it asks you if you want to upload the raw data. Who cares about your relatives that you've never met that, are 10 removed? Go for the raw data. That's what you want out of that. Then go to one of the many programs out there. I've been working with DNAFit. They're out of the UK. And look at your information. This is really helping me identify my nutrient needs, my supplements, how I should eat, because it even tells me I'm better low carb, high fat, and my detoxification genes and stress genes they just added, but your fitness ones. So my fitness genes are going to tell me my training and intensity response genes. So they take about 5 genetic markers and correlate them together to create my response. I've been doing Ironmans, started in 2001. I started marathons before that and long distance cycling events about 1995. So it's been, how old am I? 47, 25 years. I've been doing endurance events. It's just easier for me. But these genetic reports tell me my power to endurance response. This is why I never believed this was true. I'm 73% power, 27% endurance. So this says my assessment has determined that my genetic profile falls more in the zone of power activities based on variations in your genes. Make the most of this genetic tendency for power activities by placing a priority on power exercises in your training program. Now, that doesn't mean that I should do power lifting. It just means how I should train, for example, a half marathon. So it just is showing that exercise, how I respond to exercise, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. It's just part of the pictures. So variations in our genetic profiles can help explain why some people see a better response to different type of exercise. following a genetically guided exercise program from, as this one, DNAFit panel shown up to 3-fold improvements in training compared to genetically mismatched training. So it doesn't tell you what sport you should be good at or not good at. It's not going to tell you everything. It's just one part of the picture. It should not be taken as at all and be all and end all of training decisions. And also, genetics will not say we cannot or can improve from exercise as a whole, and we should not direct exactly what every workout looks like. So it means that I should do most of my workouts with some intervals and some with endurance. So I would say that'd be a Sunday long run, keeping at my low heart rate, and then my weekday runs have the other 2 or 3 workouts with some intervals. Or my long run, I've been trying to do long, and then the last 2 miles or so, add some intervals because it's the end of the workout. I don't need to stay at my fat burning range. I'm finished. So let's do some sprints to get home. Some 2 miles or 2 minutes fast, 1 minute easy, or a 4 and a 1, or half a mile fast, 2 half-mile repeats. So I think genetic testing is really going to change how I'm training for my race season next year. It also tells me my exercise recovery profile is medium and how I should maybe look at my recovery differently. Overtrain under recovery is most people's area of opportunity. So training hard but recovering harder is a good thing to look at. It also shows my injury predisposition. So I'm actually high, not very high, on being prone to injuries. So with the different genetic markers that they take into account, they put together this report. So it might be that I need more time for recovery, but I might need some more supplementation as omega-3s and other supplements that will help decrease inflammation and help speed up recovery. So taking my omega-3s, my antioxidants, and taking my True Niagen mitochondria support may be beneficial. And the aerobic potential on here is my VO2 max is medium. So this tells me my VO2 max is the popular measurement what we use for oxygen consumption, how I can use it during exercise. But looking at this used for seeing my aerobic capacity. So again, it doesn't tell me I'm not going to be a good aerobic competitor because my past life, I was very competitive and doing well in my age group in endurance events. I've never really been good at any hand-eye coordination, short distance events. I've always felt I'm an endurance event person, but maybe that's because I always trained that way and that's what I like to do. So get your genetic markers, but don't say, oh, this shows I should be power lifter and doing maybe obstacle racing and CrossFit or something instead of endurance events. Take into account this information for how you should train for those events. Maybe you're better like me to do more intervals and tempo and pace work along with doing your max aerobic function, long run, heart rate workouts. But I always say for runners, when you're doing off season, to build up your aerobic engine. So doing that math training all winter, because it could take 6 months to get your pace faster at those lower heart rates. So you can find our old podcast with Maffetone about 5 years ago. We've done a bunch with him early on, and find all the podcasts from Fit, Fat, Fast and from this show on my website, DebbiePotts.net. Under podcast, you'll find all the archives. There's also a page of my favorite links for each element of the holistic method I'm trying to build up. So my favorite links for nutrition and exercise, sleep, stress, movement, gut health, digestion, hydration, and happiness will all be updated as I find my favorite products that I use and recommend. So that's what I have for today. Hopefully you can learn something. And if you like what you are hearing, I'd love for you to help me grow this podcast. It's a team thing, not just me. It's everyone helping out. If you could share this podcast with your social media network, with your friends, your fellow competitors, athletes, workout training partners. So if you could help me share this information, I will be doing a free webinar, remember, on Wednesday, October 30th, and there'll be a landing page on my website so you can sign up for that 1-hour seminar, 4 p.m. Pacific Coast time, Seattle time, on Wednesday, October 30th, to talk about how to train the whole athlete with the holistic method to avoid burnout and breakdowns. We'll talk a little bit about all that with some PowerPoint slides, and you can ask some questions at the end of that. So I hope to hear from you. Again, if you'd like to come on this show, reach out to me on the Low Carb Athlete Instagram or Facebook, debbiepotts.net. You can contact me through there as well. And please give us a rating and a review on iTunes to help get the word out as well, to help other endurance athletes improve their performance and longevity by improving their whole body, whole athlete from the inside out. It's more to being healthy and performing your best and working on that aging process and just exercising. So we want to improve the aging process. So join me on my journey. Life is not a race. It is a journey. Have a wonderful day and write in your gratitude journal tonight 3 things that you're thankful for. Okay? Talk to you soon. Keep in touch.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.